I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee. And
Charlie Kirk didn't need social media rumors to tell him something felt off. That feeling had already been sitting in his gut for a while, and it wasn't going anywhere. He tried to keep it calm and private, but when your instincts keep tapping you on the shoulder, it's hard to ignore. Then everything shifted when a leaked audio clip made its way online. In that recording, there were claims that Erika may have still had unfinished business with someone from her past during a sensitive time in their relationship. The timing raised eyebrows fast. People began pointing out messages and dates that seemed to overlap in ways that didn't look great. Suddenly, what felt like a private concern turned into a loud public conversation. Charlie's parents had reportedly been questioning things quietly for months. They weren't comfortable brushing it aside, and they didn't want confusion hanging over the family. That's when the situation escalated. Instead of keeping it behind closed doors, they pushed for clarity in a major way by requesting a DNA test. That's not a small step. That's the kind of move that shows trust has been shaken. Sources close to the family say this wasn't random drama. Charlie had already been battling those same thoughts privately, turning them over in his mind again and again. Speaking doubts out loud can shake your whole world. But if there was any dishonesty about timelines or past connections, then the questions weren't minor anymore. They were serious.
A picture of Erika Kirk with a ponytail and from her past. That person matches who I saw at Fort Huachuca in the lobby the night before, and she was with that man in the lobby. And that man, he was present at that meeting.
And they demanded real answers. Once trust starts cracking like that, it doesn't just sit there quietly as it spreads fast and hits everything around it. And before we even get into why that audio surfaced when it did, or why Charlie's parents suddenly decided they were done staying silent, there's something bigger to look at. This wasn't about one small mistake or a single bad call. The ground underneath this relationship had already been shifting for a long time. The foundation didn't collapse overnight. It had been slowly weakening behind the scenes, long before the public ever caught wind of it. That's what makes this part so important. For years, Erika carefully crafted a very polished image of herself. She repeated the same story over and over. Faith-centered, disciplined, untouched by drama. No casual dating phase, no wild chapters, no messy detours. Just a straight, clean road toward marriage and family life. It was clear, simple, and easy to admire. But here's where things get complicated. Charlie never fully locked into that version of her past. And now, under pressure, that carefully built image is starting to show visible cracks. She didn't just defend it quietly either. During a recent televised town hall, she confidently stated she hadn't dated anyone for years before meeting Charlie. She said it directly and without hesitation. The way she framed it felt intentional. She positioned herself as different, elevated, separate from the typical dating scene she subtly implied others were part of. But Charlie reportedly had questions from early on. Certain timelines felt blurry. Some answers seemed too neat. And when details stay small and vague, people start looking closer.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than go. I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner.
Details that seemed to shift depending on who was asking the questions. Charlie noticed that pattern quietly and kept it to himself. He wasn't loud about it, wasn't accusing anyone, but he was paying attention. Something felt off. Still, instincts aren't evidence. He needed something solid, something real. And for a long time, that proof just didn't show up. Then everything changed. Erika's ex allegedly released photos that sent the whole situation into overdrive. Those images reportedly placed her in New York, clearly living a single social life during the exact period she later claimed she wasn't dating at all. That's where the timeline started clashing hard. The version of events she had repeated for years suddenly didn't sit right anymore, and people began comparing dates closely. It didn't stop there. Viewers started digging back into her 2018 reality TV appearance, filmed at New York City bars and out in the Hamptons. The footage showed her out socializing, enjoying nightlife, and moving freely, far from the carefully polished image she later described as her only truth. That contrast raised eyebrows fast. Now the big question started floating around. If all of that was harmless and normal, why distance from it so strongly later? Why act like it never happened? Once that thread got pulled, more inconsistencies started stacking up. It didn't just look confusing. It looked avoided. And suddenly, Charlie's long-held concerns didn't seem dramatic at all. They seemed calculated. What once looked like insecurity.
That was until I hosted the first Trump rally in Trump rally history right here in Arizona in 2015. I got a call from Miss Erika Kirk, Miss Arizona 2012. I just want to help, she said. So naturally, I put her right behind the president at that first rally.
Security now looked like awareness. This is where the pattern really starts standing out. It wasn't just small edits to the story. It felt bigger than that. Erika didn't simply reframe parts of her past. Critics argue she never fully closed that chapter before Charlie even came into the picture. Public relationships, visible outings, and documented moments all seem to clash with later claims that none of it ever happened. During that time, she was publicly linked to multiple men, even though she would later describe that entire period as if it didn't exist. And this wasn't low-key or private. One of those relationships was with a professional baseball player, and she spoke about him openly in a magazine interview. There was admiration, pride, and real affection in her words. No hesitation at all. That's why the later distancing raised eyebrows. Back then, she didn't downplay her connection with JT. She openly called him her favorite human, her best friend, and her incredible boyfriend. Those weren't casual labels. That sounded serious. Attachments like that don't just vanish overnight, at least not without questions. For years, many people even believed Erika and JT were engaged. No official marriage documents ever surfaced, but engagement-style photos of the two circulated heavily online. Those images kept popping back up, bringing old questions with them. Questions she clearly seemed eager to move past. But the footage that really threw everything into chaos came from a political rally back in 2015. In the clip, Erika is standing next to a man, with a young child nearby in the same frame. Once that video hit the internet, people didn't just watch it, they dissected it. Frame by frame, slow motion.
Picture of Erika Kirk, and I'm assuming her baby, but listen, look at her hands. I'm going to show you a picture of these scars. There is a scar right there. Zoom in on it if you need to.
Zoomed in, every detail under a microscope. Viewers started pointing out possible connections and similarities that Erika had previously worked hard to downplay. No direct accusations, just observations that raised eyebrows she probably didn't expect to see again. And then came the detail that shifted the entire conversation. Standing in those same bleachers, Tyler Bauer. Yes, the same Tyler who would later introduce Erika to Charlie, the same Tyler who is now deeply involved in TPUSA leadership circles. That overlap made people pause hard, because now this wasn't just about past relationships, it was about proximity, timing, and shared circles long before the official How We Met storyline ever took shape. Suddenly, the timeline didn't feel as clean as it once sounded. Erika appeared to be moving within the same political and social spaces years before she publicly claimed to have met Charlie. That detail alone sparked a wave of speculation. Did she truly close the door on that earlier chapter? Or did she simply shift lanes, rebrand, and keep it pushing without revisiting the full story? So when Erika later stood beside Charlie, presenting herself as untouched, deeply faith-centered, and fully ready for marriage, people started asking a sharper question. Was that the complete truth? Or was it the final draft of a long evolution carefully refined over time? So now the question flips fast. Was it faith? Or was it strategy? Because this is the moment where the story stops sounding accidental and starts looking intentional. Critics argue Erika didn't step into marriage with Charlie because of some sudden fairy tale spark. They believe the timing lined up a little too perfectly. Right when settling down, refining her public image, and stepping closer to influence made sense. That layer rarely gets highlighted when the love story is told publicly. And this is exactly
the defense wants to ban cameras in the courtroom. How do you feel about that?
There were cameras all over my husband when he was murdered. There have been cameras all over my friends and family mourning. There have been cameras all over me, analyzing my every move, analyzing my every smile, my every tear. We deserve to have cameras in there. Why not be transparent? There's nothing to hide. I know there's not, because I've seen what the case is built on. Let everyone see what true evil is. This is something that could impact a generation and generations to come.
where her connection to Tyler Bauer becomes hard to brush aside. When you trace the timeline carefully, the steps don't look random. By 2017, Tyler Bauer had moved into a major leadership role at TPUSA. Soon after, he arranged what was introduced as a professional job interview between Erika and Charlie. On paper, it sounded formal and structured, but somehow that interview reportedly turned into their first date. And for observers watching closely, that twist raised serious eyebrows. Professional setting to personal connection that fast? That's not a typical path. Here's the part that keeps coming up though. Right before that introduction took place, Erika reportedly wasn't single. She wasn't publicly presenting herself as looking for love, and she wasn't living the ultra-quiet, strictly disciplined lifestyle she would later describe. That contrast is what keeps people talking, because the shift feels sudden, and sudden shifts always spark questions. Erika later acknowledged that during that same time period, she was actively dating Cabot Phillips. Cabot was already working inside the same media and political space, and his name carried tension because of public disagreements involving Charlie. That overlap alone made the situation uncomfortable, but the timeline made it even harder to smooth over. An old social media post from September 2017 resurfaced, showing Erika and Cabot together on what looked like a painting date. That wasn't speculation, it was visual confirmation they were spending time together during the same window she was being introduced to Charlie. And that's where
the entire issue and the energy right now is that people, irrespective of what's happening on paper, don't believe the story. They don't believe the story. And you are, and of course this is only a snippet of the interview, so I'm sure more will be said here, but I'm getting that you have seen the case, you think it's a solid case, she thinks it's a solid case at least, and is saying, show everybody what you have so they can see true evil. Within her capacity of chairman and CEO of Turning Point USA, they could be more transparent about what happened that day. People don't like the stuff that they've seen about Mikey McCoy. They don't like what they've seen about Rob McCoy. They don't like the history of Rob and Mikey McCoy and their involvement here. They don't like the video of Terrell. They don't believe what time text messages were sent or when the phone calls took place. You know, Rob McCoy is lying. In the areas that you can control the transparency, I think doing that would be beneficial to Turning Point USA, because I don't think Turning Point USA
stories started clashing hard, because later, Erika described herself as having stepped away from dating entirely before meeting Charlie. Then even more photos from that same period began circulating. They showed Cabot and Charlie moving in similar circles, even attending some of the same events. That detail made the idea of a completely random later introduction feel shaky. The circles were overlapping. The timing was overlapping. Everything felt closer than originally presented. Once people connected that Erika was seeing Cabot while also being introduced to Charlie through Tyler Bauer, the puzzle pieces seemed to snap together. Suddenly, Charlie's long-standing questions didn't look like insecurity or jealousy. They looked like someone noticing details that weren't lining up and quietly trying to make sense of them. He didn't push back out of jealousy. He stepped back because the timeline just wouldn't stay straight. The details kept shifting, and that constant contradiction started weighing on him heavy. This is where it gets personal. Once the pieces started lining up in his own mind, Charlie didn't explode or start pointing fingers. According to people close to the situation, he moved differently, quietly. No public scenes, no dramatic showdowns. He simply pulled back. From that point on, the marriage reportedly felt different. Charlie became more guarded with his thoughts, more selective about what he shared, and noticeably more careful when it came to decisions involving the children. This wasn't panic, it wasn't paranoia. It looked like someone tightening control after trust had been shaken. When you begin to question whether someone may have carefully curated their identity before stepping into your world, you don't move fast. You slow everything down. Charlie didn't rush to label anything, but he stopped operating on blind trust. Every choice became more intentional, more measured, more protective. That's also when his parents reportedly became more present, not in an overbearing way, but consistently around the kids. Familiar faces, familiar routines, extra stability in the background. People noticed the shift at the time, but couldn't quite put their finger on it. Now, looking back, some believe it makes more sense. Charlie didn't want the kids wrapped inside a version of reality he wasn't fully confident in anymore. He wanted balance, he wanted accountability, and he wanted trusted family nearby who could see everything clearly as it unfolded. And that shift wasn't subtle at all. It was steady, calculated, intentional. From that point forward, Charlie reportedly began structuring his life like someone quietly preparing for an outcome he never publicly discussed. His schedule tightened up, his inner circle got smaller. His decisions became more cautious across the board. He wasn't picking fights or escalating tension. He was moving like someone bracing for something serious. He didn't make speeches about it. He didn't explain himself online, he just adjusted. And now, with Charlie no longer here to clarify his mindset or defend his perspective, everything feels heavier. The silence leaves room for speculation, and speculation grows fast. According to people close to the family, his parents have now stepped forward and are done staying quiet. After the resurfaced contradictions, the timeline gaps, and all the lingering questions, they have allegedly pushed for DNA testing, not for drama, not for headlines, but for answers that never fully came while Charlie was alive. This is where things become impossible to brush aside. Sources claim trust has completely broken down, especially regarding the most sensitive questions surrounding the children. And what makes this moment hit even harder is the timing. Some believe Charlie carried private doubts but chose to handle them quietly. Now, his parents are the ones carrying that weight. From their perspective, protecting the kids comes first, no matter how uncomfortable the process gets. They're not stepping in out of anger. They're stepping in because they feel responsible. And in their eyes, staying silent is no longer an option. Charlie isn't here anymore to ask those questions himself. That responsibility has fallen directly on his parents, and that kind of weight changes everything. When trust breaks at this level, every unanswered question starts to feel like a real risk they're not willing to overlook. Here's the part that has people seriously unsettled. There are growing rumors that if DNA results confirm the children are Charlie's, his parents may be prepared to pursue full custody. That single possibility shifts the entire conversation, because now this isn't just about past timeline, issues, or public image concerns. It becomes about where they believe the children will be safest in the long run. The fact that this is even being discussed shows how deeply trust has eroded. Custody battles aren't small moves, especially when grandparents are the ones considering it. For them to even explore that option suggests they believe something has been off for a long time. That's not a casual decision. That's serious. And it raises the quiet question nobody feels comfortable saying out loud. What concerns did Charlie carry privately that never reached the public? What did he notice but choose to handle behind closed doors? Now everything hinges on results that can't be polished, reframed, or debated away. Facts are facts, and once those answers come back, there's no more room for interpretation. It becomes reality, clear, final, and impossible to spin. If the DNA results confirm what Charlie once quietly questioned, this story doesn't stop at leaked audio or old photos resurfacing. It turns into something much bigger, a legal battle that could reopen the entire marriage after the fact and permanently reshape how it's remembered. That's not small, that's life-altering, and if the results go the other way, then it means Charlie may have spent his final years carrying doubts that never found resolution. That outcome is just as heavy. Either the suspicions had substance, or a man wrestled with unanswered questions until the very end. There's no light version of that reality. What's clear either way is this: the carefully built image that once stood so firm has already cracked. What's left now isn't branding or speeches. It's a trail of timelines, strained trust, and a family that no longer believes staying quiet is the responsible move. Charlie never took his concerns public. He didn't try to spin a narrative or rally supporters. He handled it privately. But according to people close to the family, his parents are choosing a different path. They're pushing for clarity, not for headlines, not for attention, but because they believe the truth sat in the shadows for too long. If you believe these questions deserve real answers, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share this with anyone following the story, and I'll see you on the next one.